I want you to take a look at this position and answer the following questions. Who's winning? By how much? And why? It's white to move. Feel free to pause the video. Now, if you said white's winning by a little bit because they have an extra piece developed than their opponent, you would be right in your reasoning, except white is completely winning. And I'm going to show you how. How many times have you reached a position like this where you've moved your central pawns, you've developed your minor pieces, you've castled your king, and then you ask yourself, well, now what? Well, what you should be doing is looking for your opponent's weaknesses, and so often they come in the form of holes. Now, holes are squares that your opponents cannot protect with their pawns. So already here on the 6th rank, there are 3 holes that have been created. H6, F6, and D6. They're all holes. Now, what we should try and do next is put our minor pieces on those holes and try and support them. Now, these 2 holes are fairly impenetrable. That's sort of the point of this setup. The bishop covers them. But this hole on D6 is very weak. And if we can improve our pieces with attack or with tempo, that's even better. So our first move should be fairly obvious. Bishop D6, attacking the rook, moving with tempo. Now, black's next move is forced. Rook E8. Okay, so we have a very dominant bishop, but you're probably asking yourself, okay, Jay, what's the point of this? I mean, you didn't win any points. What good is your bishop? Well, a bishop on such a good hole is a catalyst for future positional improvements. And what you should do next is ask yourself, okay, I want to improve a piece. Let's say you want to improve this knight or one of your knights. What you should ask yourself is, let's say you can pick up the knight and just magically put it anywhere on the board. Not on top of another piece, but just on another square. Where would you put it? Surely C7, right? That would be a fork. That would be wonderful. Now, you should work backwards from there. How can you get a knight to C7? Well, the only way seems to be from B5. Okay, so our next move is realized. Knight B5, threatening the fork and moving with tempo. Now, if you put yourself in black's shoes, you realize it's very, very difficult to escape this fork. I mean, the bishop completely dominates the rooks. But black can try one little trick here with Queen B6. Now, if you go for the fork, you will win a rook, but in the process, you're going to lose both of your strong minor pieces. So Knight C7 would actually be a blunder, because you'll end up losing 6 points and only gaining 5, right? They'll take the bishop, and then whichever rook you take, you're also losing your knight. Okay, this is not good. Instead, from here, we're going to look for a move that safely improves a piece, right, deeper into the enemy position with tempo. And we find bishop c7 does that. And now the queen is running out of squares. So let's say queen c6. Once again, can we improve a piece with tempo? Yes. Rook c1. Right? Rooks belong on open files, that is, files with no pawns on them. And now the queen only has one square. Queen a6. Can you find a nice move that will improve a piece with tempo? Feel free to pause the video. And yes, knight d6 is it. Attacking the rook, discovery attack on the queen, and the queen is almost trapped. It has one square, which is to take the pawn on a2. Now here's where a strong player will really separate themselves from the pack. Yes, you could win the rook and secure an endgame win, but in this position, the knight is actually a much stronger piece than the rook. Okay, its dynamic value is quite a bit better. Instead, rook a1 should be considered. And when we consider rook a1, we realize, okay, the queen's going to take the pawn on b2. So let's play a prophylactic move against that. Queen c2, defending the b2 pawn. Rook a1 is now impossible to stop, and that will trap the queen. So, okay, black saves the rook. Rook a1 traps the queen. The best they can do is give up the queen for the rook. And in this final position, white is clearly better, and their pieces continue to dominate. As you can see, when you look for holes to put your pieces on, your position just plays itself. So next time you don't know what to do, look for holes and try and get your pieces on them. Do not make random, unnecessary pawn moves. You'll only create holes for your opponents. For example, at the very beginning of this study, A3 would just be a mistake. Opening up a hole on B3 is just a long-term target for your opponent to exploit. So I hope this video helped.